Ooh, doggy. What is going on, beautiful people? I hope and pray y'all are doing phenomenally well. So I am extremely excited and blessed and honored to have Jared on here again and Bill, the co-founders of RAFI. So if y'all missed the last two videos, Jared was on talking about the platform, how they can basically automate MLS offers for your deals. And so I was so blown away on the call or on the YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. I was like, oh, I want to get set up with this platform. It's incredible. And we have been. And so I even said that I would be recording and showing y'all the entire process. And so that's what we're doing here. On the last video, we actually did the kind of, well, it was boring to me, onboarding stuff. But we said we would show y'all all the little pieces of the process here as we get going. And so today, fellas, I think we're getting ready to set up some campaigns, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Today's the fun day.
Today's the fun day. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Well, let's jump in. So this process is typically something that will come prepared to discuss. But Clifford, one of the things that we wanted to do, since a whole bunch of folks out there might be just getting into investing or looking to dip their toes in the water, we actually wanted to talk a little bit about our process to offer some high-level bullet points. So even if you're not a partner of RAFI down the road, you could actually go out and do this yourself, even without our help. So we're going to look at some data. Isn't that exciting?
There you go.
Bill, you should have worn your shirt today that said data over emotions.
Data over feelings.
Yeah,
it's a nice shirt when you're in the office. It's not so nice when you come home and your wife's looking at you.
So there's a couple things that we're going to pull up, Clifford. And believe it or not, we can actually use the help of some AI to make this a lot quicker. Nice. But I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna pull up a couple different resources to look at all of this together.
Okay,
let's just do this.
And Clifford, as we're going through this, I'll probably jump in and expand on some of these concepts. Feel free to ask to go deeper or to do the opposite and say, hey, Bill, I think you've gone deep enough. I can get excited talking about some of these topics. So you let me know how deep we're going to go here.
Yeah. Yes, sir. No, I love it. And I'm really glad that you're here too, because doing MLS deals is actually very new to me. I've always been off market, direct to seller. So for the 5 years that I've been doing this is actually a first for me targeting MLS deals. So no, I'm excited for any feedback that you're going to be given.
Awesome.
Well, we're excited too. So before I even jump in and start creating a campaign, there's basically like three main resources that we can use to pull together some of the data that we need to make sure that we have an educated decision in front of us on where are we targeting, how are we going to target, and a general scope on like, hey, where's the strategy need to land? And just remember, this is very much an iterative process. So where we start today might look different a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. And that's for a couple reasons. A, as you're getting feedback and as you're on the phone with agents, Clifford, we made a need to make some pivots or some changes that help us handle things a little bit differently. But the market also changes too, right? So as the market shifts, we might need to tweak things. It's like any other marketing channel kind of in that regards. So you gave me a handful of zip codes that you are most active in kind of the Dallas area. But before we even get there, I want to show you the general process that we go through with our customers. And you can actually, we don't always use ChatGPT, but you can actually use them just because it's such a free and simple resource. But let's just say you're in Dallas. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to get 100,000-foot view of what Dallas looks like as it relates to on-market opportunities. So I'm going to literally come in here to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, give me the towns or all the towns in Dallas County, Texas, include the median home value and population. And we're going to let that run. And that's going to spit out really a list of all of the towns that are within that particular area, of course, with their population and the median home value. These are going to be two pretty important things when it comes to targeting. I'll let Bill speak to that in a minute, but at the end of the day, it's pretty straightforward, right? We want to be able to target an area that's got a lot of opportunities for us. We call that swings at the bat. We also want an area that's inherently got a lot of buyer activity, because if you go and you try to get a contract, the worst thing that could happen is that you don't have somebody on the back end to buy the thing. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to convert this into a spreadsheet, good old handy dandy ChatGPT. And while that's loading, I'm also going to pull up two other pages, and that's going to be Zillow Home Research or Zillow Insights tab, and then Redfin Insights as well. And that's going to allow us to actually spot check some of this information that we're pulling up here.
Is there a specific population that we're looking for? Does that matter?
Yes, that does matter. So it's going to pull us up over here.
Yeah, I can jump into that for a second here. And this, just to preface this is all guidelines, right? We all have our playbooks, and however you're going to overlay this on top of your guidelines, think of it as that. These are not necessarily hard rules. Everyone has their backyard that they like to play in. If it doesn't fit these guidelines, does not necessarily mean that, you should make a major pivot in your operation. It's just a consideration, right? So as we're going through this, whether you're wholesaler, flipper, agent, we're looking for activity, right? So the whole idea is if you have more population, in theory, there's more activity, right? Just very high level rule of thumb. So population is typically an indicator of how much action is going on in the area. And then the median home value is something that we throw in there to also make sure we're all looking to make sure there's enough meat on the bone, right? We talk about that a lot as wholesalers and flippers. So once you start playing in areas that are, sub 300K, sub 200K, it can potentially be a little bit more challenging. Again, it really depends on your strategy. There's some people that are, complete nationwide marketers, right? They're in 30 plus states, 20 plus states. Some of us are just in one state. Some of us are just in one county. So, these are just some of the loose guidelines to make sure as you're, considering expanding or maybe even just auditing your current marketing areas, how does my current marketing area measure up to what these guidelines look like? Or how do some of these areas I'm looking to expand into measure up against some of these guidelines?
Nice.
Yeah, well said. And we can use this. So he gave Mr. GPT gave us the top 11 towns that are in Dallas County. There's obviously several more, but this is actually good that we didn't get an exhaustive list, because this is just a really good sample size of what we'd be looking to do. So the first thing,
I think that may be all the cities in
is
Dallas.
it?
Yeah.
Even better. Well, this is exhaustive then. So
which Dallas County is I'm sorry,
No,
is our largest county here in Dallas Fort Worth area.
Mm-hmm. We've got 11 on here. I guess this is pretty close. There's some municipalities that maybe aren't included on this. The Clifford, the first thing that we're going to look at though is population. Just like Bill was saying, there is a nice little rule of thumb, or a benchmark, if you will, and that is typically 60,000 population for a town size. So anything greater than 60,000 is a good place to start. So we'd want to go through this, and the reason we had you pull up Zillow Insights and Redfin Insights is because you'd want to come through this and just double check some of this data, especially from some of these outlying things that maybe seem a little off. But good example of what we're referring to is, DeSoto, Lancaster, and Cedar Hill. These might be areas that you want to ignore or not go with just because the density isn't quite as high. Bill, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, so this is something I had to think through hard, as I've gone through all my learning evolutions. I just came back from a workshop not too long ago, and some of these similar metrics were stated, and I started to think, New Jersey's my primary area, New Jersey, right? New Jersey's known as the most densely populated state. There's plenty of towns or cities that are sub 60K, but that doesn't really give you a good idea of the density, right? Because the towns in Jersey are 1 by 1 mile areas, and they're stacked up next to other 20,000, population cities. So you really have to consider Am I in a urban area, a suburban area, a rural area, right? So when you're in a place like Dallas, the population thing, maybe you're not putting the same sort of weight when you're in a city compared to when you're in the, the middle of nowhere and you see a 20,000 population. Well, when you're in the middle of nowhere and it's 20,000 population, there's probably a bunch of nowhere around you, right? There's not a lot of activity. In these areas, you see sub 60,000. Well, there's probably 60,000 more right next to it, right? And another 60,000 right next to it. So, adjust as you will when you're in your urban, suburban, and rural areas. But that's why we don't, put all of our eggs in one basket, right? We're not making decisions just based off of population. We're not making our decisions just based off median home value. There's other factors we consider. One that I'm sure Jared will, get into momentarily is median days on market, right? That will give you a good indicator of how kind of quick things are moving, right? What's the hot potato nature? And if you wanted to go even further than that, you could start looking at, okay, out of all the home sales that have happened in the last, whatever look back period you're looking at, 30, 60 days, 90 days, what percentage of those were cash, right? That'll then give you an indicator of how much investor action is going on, which, starts to be relevant, especially for our wholesalers and our flippers. They want to get a little piece of that action. They want to know where the investors and where the cash is playing, right?
Yeah.
So
Two things.
A few things.
A couple things I want to throw out there. Number one, y'all, if you heard them say that you want to know how many cash transactions are kind of taking place there, don't go and reinvent the wheel. Just follow the money. Like if all of the other investors are buying and flipping in that area, I can probably guess that the days on market are fairly low, and that things are still moving pretty quickly there. So I see a lot of people get scared to buy in those areas because they think it's too competitive, but no, go where the money's going. That's one thing. But also I'll throw out there, every one of those cities are hot cities within Dallas County. Like I know DeSoto, Lancaster, Cedar Hill, the population is a little low, but anytime we get something under contract there, it typically flies because those are really, really good, specifically for our buy and holders, those that are getting rentals.
Yeah, well said. And in a lot of ways, that can be the best place that you can start if you want to build a campaign to target these various markets, is start in the areas that you've got the most buyer activity, or the areas that are kind of the hottest. Because at the end of the day, that's nearly more important than getting the contract first. So, well said. What we're gonna do from this, and we'll come back to median home value in a minute. But the other thing that we're gonna do here is we're gonna go to we're gonna just take one of these as an example. So we'll take DeSoto, the town of DeSoto, and we're gonna come over here to Zillow Insights, and we're gonna type in DeSoto, Texas. And what we want to capture from this, that was good. Let's try this one. What we want to get.
You may or may not be in the. I'm not sure if this is the market insights area. There's so many tabs on Zillow, so this is a potentially a good highlight of that, just because there's so many areas. And I've been using Redfin up until pretty recently. The last I think a few months ago, I started to weave in Zillow Insights as well as Redfin Insights. But I believe it's on the that buy drop down. If you go back to where you were, under that buy drop down, there's going to be a home sales. Not homes for sale, the home sales button, I believe. And I'm going to pull this up on my side just to make sure we're getting this absolutely correct.
Home sales, home loans.
Yeah, and on my browser, I always have all my tabs up every day, and I have them locked as my bookmarks, right? So I personally, here's just a little fun tip for you guys. I always have Maps open, Google Maps. Then I'll have my Zillow Insights open, and then I'll have an additional Zillow bar open just to mess around with comps and whatnot. Redfin, again, to get to your market insights, and all this cross-checking is super important. especially as you're thinking about expanding your markets. And I also have a prop stream account, just to take a quick little tangent there so people understand what my setup looks like on a regular basis.
Yeah, and the other thing you can do too is just type it into a Google bar, just like this. It'll pull up typically all these things. We're looking for this one right here. There's Zillow Insights. It actually says it right down at the bottom. So 29 days.
Your
days on
screen,
market.
your screen went away. We're not seeing it no more.
Oh, sorry.
And Jared, it was actually my mistake. It was under the sell button. Sell, then home values, not buy, home values.
No problem. This is the tab I was just showing, that you can just literally come in here, do a Google search, DeSoto, Texas, days on market, scroll down here until you find Zillow. Even says it in part of the description. So 29 days. So essentially, we would want to go through all of these and mark the days on market. That'll be inherent because of some of the items that we were talking about earlier, which is, how active is the area? How quick is inventory moving? All good stuff to know. We are going to take all of that information though, and once we've examined it, looked at it, grabbed the necessary stuff, and we are going to build out something that looks like this. So Clifford, these are all the zip codes that you gave us that were your absolute best areas. You've got the highest buyer activity. We've grabbed all of the same information just at a zip code level, and we wanted to kind of use this as a good way to explain why you have to go through and double check some of this stuff. For instance, Dallas 75212, median home value 73,700. It's not actually that, right? We can almost assume that that's going to be kind of way off. So just using the spot check method of, hey, are there any outlying data points that don't feel right? Doing a quick search can uncover what the actual home value is. And I think it's closer to like 385, if I remember correctly, punching it in. But once you have a good brick of the locations where you want to target and kind of an assessment of median home value, days on market, population, we can then back into that to actually create our now strategy that's going to exist as part of your campaign.
Nice.
I want to grab the official median home value for that zip code. Stand by.
And I know we've been talking about, thresholds to look out for as far as median days on market go. There's a couple different checkpoints that you want to look at. If you're hovering at that 30 days or less, you're definitely in a very active area, right? This is, I think, for a lot of us investors on here, we all know real estate does not move overnight, right? So anything that's moving in a 30-day or less period probably means it's a high action area. As you start creeping closer to 45 days, you're still good. I would say you can start kind of raising your yellow flag, right? Maybe do a deeper dive into the data, whether you have prop stream or whatever other accounts. Investor Lift's another one that's out there, so you have an understanding of how many cash buyers or just general buyer activity is in that area. Once you start getting to 60 days of median DOM, that's where I would say you're going to start raising an orange flag, right? Does not necessarily mean you don't play in that area. Again, if there's people, listening to this and they're like, oh my, I'm in an area right now and it's 75 days median DOM, that's okay, right? What does that mean, really? It just means you have to adjust what your purchase contracts are going to look like, especially if you're wholesaling. Don't be in a median 75-day DOM market and assume that you're going to be able to get transactions done in 30 days, unless you got a killer price, right? These are all the different nozzles that we're playing with. What are the terms of our contract? How much of a discount do we have on our purchase contracts? These will all determine, but these are the macro data points that you start with, so you can start making smart decisions downstream.
Yep.
Nice. Now,
all right. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, just seeing these low days on market, though, these are great for, my wholesales, my fix and flips. But if I'm doing deals that are on the MLS, like, how many options or offers am I going to really realistically be making? Because wouldn't we target properties that's been sitting for at least 60 days or 90 days? Like,
it's a great question.
It's a good point.
Yeah, we are going to use this intentionally on where we set our parameters around the filter. So actually one of the first places we're going to start is days on market. So how long on average does this area, or does this particular zip code, or the whole geography that we're after, sit on market? Before I maybe answer that question, I just want to highlight that these are all relatively close together. Like, we don't see any 50s in here. We don't see any like teens in here. It's all pretty much in, you know, the 25 to 30 range, give or take a few points. So we can make some quick napkin math and just say, if we target 40 days on market as an average where we would want to start sending out offers, that's going to do a good job of getting past the average, the law of averages, right? Where most of the stuff that's going to go quick has already gone quick. And it's going to allow us to target the stuff that's a little bit more stale, or that's got some more, how do you want to say? Yeah, distress that's associated with it, as at least as it looks at a like a listing. So we've come through, we've double checked our data. And by the way, I should mention, right, if you engage with our team, this is all done for you. This is just to kind of walk you through the process of how we create these strategies. But once you have a pretty good assessment on things, the next thing we would want to do here, Clifford, is divide this into various campaigns. Now, we've got a price point that's relatively close together. It's all under $450,000 median home value. The days on market, there's nothing crazy that sticks out. So we could group all of these into one campaign that we're going to send out on our behalf. So that makes it's super simple. We can iterate down the road if this is going to be a campaign that exists for each one of these zip codes. That could be, but right now everything's close together. So we know that probably one strategy is going to get us the information that we need, and we're going to be off to the races. So we can do the fun part now, which is start to load this into a actual campaign. So we're going to call this the Dallas County campaign. And then we're going to grab these zip codes.
And as Jared's setting this up, just to be clear about that last point, maybe some of you are focused in one market. Maybe some of you are focused all over a state. Again, it could be 10 plus states, whatever it is that you're after. The whole point of setting up these campaigns is there can be a lot of variations, right? It cannot just be necessarily the geographic area, but the price points start to change as you change geography. So, let's say we had one of those zip codes that was a $1 million median value. Well, you might be applying a different discount, right, to the $1 million median value than you would the 300K median value. Or perhaps there's a zip code in there where you know what, I really only care for multifamilies here, or maybe you really only care for land. And especially once you start focusing on land is a much heavier discount than standing properties. A lot of our campaigns for land, they're at 50% or less, right? As far as the discount percentage goes. If you start at 70% with land, you'll start to notice a lot of people being very happy with your offers. And this is only something you notice if you have a machine like this, where you start, essentially machine gunning out offers to, using this land example. It's like, oh, wow, I'm getting a lot of positive action. Your goal isn't necessarily, and not to be any sort of, negative person here, but your goal is not necessarily to see a bunch of positive responses right out the gate, right? That's probably a good indicator that, you didn't set up your campaign the best way possible, and that, now you find yourself backpedaling in a lot of these conversations. And backpedaling can be a bit tougher to do. So, that's why we try to set these up as best as we possibly can, put our best foot forward with that initial offer.
Yeah.
Clifford, the other thing that we didn't maybe get into quite as deep, but Bill just hit on it, was this median home value. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just stopped sharing my screen again. The big thing around the median home value is actually where we make a suggestion on where your discounted price that gets written up on the contract should come in. So, an easy way to think about this is use $500,000 price bands. So from 0 to 500,000, you're really in a good, comfortable spot between 70 and 80%. The higher you go, and actually once you get up over, 1.5 million, Bill, some weird stuff actually starts to happen with pricing, where, believe it or not, you actually want your discount percentage to be higher. So if you're 1.5, 2 million, 3 million, there is a tendency for the listing agent and the homeowner to significantly overprice these properties, in which case they get stale really quick, but they're also more inept to play the game of, hey, I'm willing to have a negotiation on this property. So Bill's had some success recently, actually, in some of the beach towns in Jersey, where he's come in at like a 60% discount on a $3 million property. And I mean, I think you're closing on a multifamily here pretty soon, right? I don't know what the delta was that you landed that thing on, but maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah. Wildwood, New Jersey, one of the beach towns here in Jersey. One of the more highly trafficked beach towns too. It's one of those year-round places. In Jersey, we don't have, not every beach is a year-round beach, right?
Yeah.
As it stands right now, it's probably 30 degrees outside. So Wildwood's one of those highly trafficked areas. It was something that was listed at, I want to say it started at 1.4. I think my team ended up getting it under contract for 1.025. It is a 20-unit rooming house. So there's a lot of, in and out movement there, but it is year-round, and it's a lot of the year-round employees that work at Wildwood. And essentially, as we started to investigate this thing, I was like, oh, am I going to wholesale this? I was like, you know what? This is something I want to add to my portfolio. And occasionally that happens, right? Your pick of the litter. So me and a couple of my family members are going to take this thing down, but 20-unit rooming house started at 1.4 million, got it under contract for 1.025, went through, the normal inspection steps to make sure we knew what we were working with. But this thing's bringing in $240K in revenue a year. So it's just got a lot of cash paying tenants that are in and out. But to Jared's point, it was kind of a interesting occurrence that happened when we originally started this. We thought, okay, when we're attacking these 1 million, 2 million plus beach towns in Jersey, why don't we be a little bit more careful with our percentage? Because 10, 15% off a $3 million home, that's a lot more, right? Than 10, 15% off 300K. But what we started to realize is that, and at least in Jersey, and let's caveat it that way, Jared, right? Because the data could be a little bit different across the country in different areas. But at least in the Jersey beach towns, we realized these people are inflating their listing price. And as we're doing the comp analysis on the people that were rolling back in, we were starting to get, too many yeses, right? Similar to that land example I was using.
Yeah.
And we started to see all these yeses. We're like, what's going on? Why do these people keep wanting to move forward with our offers? Like at the opening, I was like, that can't be good. Maybe it's great. This is Christmas. But it turned out that, the luxury homes, and we found that a good amount of them were actually some beachfront properties, $5 million homes, even $7 million homes. They were just inflating their listing price, right? So we had to adjust accordingly, which is all part, of the iteration game that we play here. We just, got to pay attention to your data. If you're not paying attention to it and adjusting, you're not going to see the results you want.
Nice. I love it. But it makes sense too, even on the rehab side. I mean, when you get in that price point home, it just simply costs more to rehab it. Like the materials are higher quality. You're not putting Formica in there. Like,
yeah.
Luxury Formica, maybe.
Yeah.
So Clifford, you've got the opportunity now to make some decisions. So first question, I would suggest that you want your offer discount for our go live to be somewhere between 70 and 80%. Where would you like to start for our number one campaign?
I was gonna say 65%, but we'll go with 70.
All right, we'll do 70. We can always adjust. Well,
that was that cowboy in you, 65%.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Like, let's offer them nothing. And then just FYI to you, Clifford, part of this is pretty technical on our end. So we are actually going to take things very slow. So you'll notice I'm only going to send out one. That is something that you guys don't need to worry about. We'll handle on the back end, but the first couple of days is a very, very slow rollout. And that's so we actually get the feedback loop that we need to continue to build this thing and build more authority around the email domain that these are coming from. It's a lot of technical things to say. This is about a week and a half, 2 weeks ramp up period until we're sending out 20, 30, 40, 50 offers per day, or a comfortable volume that you're able to take on.
Nice.
So the second thing we're going to do is now we're going to set up the actual filters of properties that you want to shoot for. So good news is those zip codes, they've got us 3,816 potential opportunities. We think we're going to shoot for a 40-day on market. Now, what kind of properties are you after specifically? Are these all single family, or do you want to pepper in some other stuff here?
Single family for sure.
Okay.
I mean, you can throw multifamily and it won't hurt after hearing Bill's story just a minute ago.
I would suggest if we want to do multifamily, let's create a separate campaign just for the multifamily, because they follow some different guidelines. But if you were interested in things like townhomes, condos, or apartments, they could also be added into the same category here. Do any of those provide value for you?
Yeah, townhomes are good.
Okay. All right. Now, the median price point that we were looking at the very high end, it was $400,000. That was the median. Is there a general range that you try to target when it comes to a property that you're acquiring and ultimately selling? Like, is there a max or a minimum price range?
For us here is typically, honestly, that 400K is that sweet spot for us.
Okay.
When you start getting over, $500,000, especially 700 here in Texas, now you're dealing with more of a kind of high-end buyer.
Sure. Okay. We want to probably do something like this. So one of the things we want to be conscious of here is where the offer is versus where you want the actual maximum filter, because this is going to filter out all of the stuff that's over that, right? So we would want to go a little bit higher than where you're going to be most comfortable. So if we did 450,000, your offer at the very maximum is going to be 315,000. And so if you pick up a property that's needs something, that gives you a little wiggle room to get up to that $400,000 price point. So we feel pretty good if we did a $450,000 price maximum.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other thing I'm going to do here is, and this is just because sometimes there's wacky data that we get, I'm going to put a price minimum of 25,000. Every once in a while, an agent will like spoof a number, and it'll be like a $1 listing by accident. And so we've seen some wacky stuff in the past, so we just put that in there to be on the safe side. Now, I would leave it at this for now. Mm-hmm. But later on, as we start to get some data in, we can certainly add in bed bath count. We can add in lot size. We can add in property features. We can add keywords. So we can do all of that. My suggestion, though, is we actually keep the funnel pretty open for the beginning, and then we can dial it back as you're starting to get feedback from some of the phone calls or text messages or responses. The last thing I want to do here, though, is I want to go ahead and select off property condition, because there's a good chance you probably don't need to target rehabbed properties or brand new properties. Am I assuming correctly?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I don't know. Everybody's different. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and update filters.
For all my, Novation people out there, and, even my buy and hold folks, still targeting those types of properties can be worth it, right? I know we're looking for the value add type of play, but don't forget that part of the value add is just being offered by the very nature of what's happening right now, right? You're going to get this property discounted relative to its current condition, right? And its current value. So just keep that in mind, especially as we're talking about, and this is coming from the guy that, has a bit of a Swiss Army knife approach, right? So I'm a little bit biased. I do flip. We buy and hold. We do a good amount of assignments and novations. So I personally am happy to take in all the different condition types that come in. And then, as Jared was saying, kind of start with a wider net up front, and then you can dial it back as you go. And I'll also remind you guys, as you're going, maybe it's not just dialing it back, but maybe you do want to dial it up, right? Maybe you realize that, you know what? I need to expand that max price a little bit higher as you're marching forward. Or maybe you realize, you know what, I set this thing to a 45, 60 day time threshold of that's how long the properties need to sit on the market before they go out. Maybe you're a cowboy like Clifford, and you're like, you know what, I want to send an offer on this thing after it's on the market for 2 days because I love this area. and I want to be one of the first offers in the door.
Yeah.
Something Jared and I realized, as this tool was being built out, was it was built off the premise of, systems, automation, and making sure we're attacking the on market in a very efficient way. And at first glance, it was, let's go attack all these fatigued properties, right, that have been on the market for too long. There's probably something going on. And, we're a group of creative problem solvers in this world, and let's go solve some problems. Let's figure out what the problem is. However, then we started to think, well, isn't there a benefit of being the first offer in the door too? Yeah. Right? Kind of putting that anxiety on the seller of, hey, here's a cash offer. It's good for the next 72 hours, whatever game you like to play. Some people don't play that game. But think about how long it takes a retail buyer to actually, put an offer together. Maybe the wife walks in, then the husband needs to come, or vice versa. All of a sudden you're 7 days in, your whole family has seen it, and you've already gotten, 3 offer exchanges in on the same property. So that is the advantage that you have, in the world that we're in, especially if you're comfortable with the whole virtual process, as opposed to needing to walk these properties, which of course, this tool can really be synergistic with people that, play the virtual game and they're okay with sending out or locking in contracts, essentially over the phone and just looking at pictures online. But just keep in mind that advantage, right? Speed. This is the speed to lead concept, speed to contract, right? You're getting contracts out, you're putting them on people, make them make decisions, right?
Nice. I actually like that idea. I actually really like that idea, to be one of the first offers out there.
We want to dial it back and do that.
Don't tempt me with a good time. I mean, I really do. I would agree. I think in this business, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been doing this longer than I have, but you definitely have to have a sense of urgency, and the quicker that you can get offers out to people, I mean, it's a numbers game, in my opinion. But you kind of sparked a question, because I do like, and I like what you called it, a Swiss Army approach. Is kind of how I operate too. And I do novations, but I didn't think to do novations on MLS deals. How would that look? So for me specifically, right now, when I have a seller that's off market, the house is in livable condition where it'll qualify for a traditional mortgage. Yeah, we'll put it under contract as a novation and then get it listed and get it sold. Well, how am I going to do that when it's already listed with another agent?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it certainly is a added layer of complexity when you already have an agent involved. But if I were to ask you, what do you think the primary motivation is of pretty much any agent that's listing any property? What would you say their main motivation is?
To make money.
To make money, right? So if you can negotiate in, hey, I'm still going to make you money, but I'm going to get this deal done. And think from the perspective of a lot of these offers that are going out in the, let's call it the default way of approaching it using RAFI is hitting all these fatigued properties. If we're going to determine that they're fatigued, what do you think that agent is?
Fatigued.
That agent's probably a little fatigued too, right? Maybe they're not coming out the gate saying, hey, I'm fatigued. Sometimes you can sense it if you're a more, seasoned veteran, right, on the field, someone that's picking up the phone, that's like, this property, right? They're just going through the motions on this property. But if you can solve that puzzle for them, and really validate yourself, and a lot of it does come at first, when you're knocking on that door, validation is very key, because everyone's going to think, I'm getting an offer. I don't think these people walk the property. This is probably some BS, right? That's probably what's going through their mind. And we set up our offers, right, in a very structured way to make sure optically it does not look that way. And when Jared kind of went through that, high level line that he was like, there's a lot of technical stuff we're doing, right? And we're not going to get into some of that technical stuff because it's super, super boring and not for this, but understand that that is part of the whole validation process to make sure that emails that are being sent out make it to people's inboxes, not to their spam, for instance, right? So that's one of the first steps. A clean email setup, a proper attachment, proper sign-offs, all those things help optically. But then once you get on the phone, whether it's you or someone else on your team, like they got to be prepared for some of the objection handling, right? Of, hey, are you guys just, kind of sending out phony offers? Are you trying to pull one over on me? Like, Are you a real company? All the stuff that you can still hear in your everyday business, but maybe is a little bit more, front facing when you're sending out, tens of offers every day.
Yeah.
So, just something to think about, that validation piece, which I believe you guys maybe even spoke about in your previous video, but it is a big thing through and through on this process.
Yeah. And I think that as we continue to get more validation, quote unquote, from these agents, the deals are going to come way beyond RAFI at some point, because when you're sending out 10, 15, 20 offers a day to all of these agents, they're keeping your information, I would imagine. Like you're going to be on the back of their mind, especially on the ones that you actually close on. Like then now we're talking about referral deals and things like that. So I think it's important for people to know that this isn't just going to be sending out offers. I think it can also be a relationship building tool, if you want to look at it that way.
Agreed. Yeah, when it's done right, it definitely is. There is an inherent long tail on this. We've got partners utilizing our platform that'll tell you, they get a no, they get a hard no on a particular property they send an offer out on, but that becomes it's never going to work on this, but I do have this that I've got in my back pocket. I've got a problem. Can you help me out with that? And that's huge.
Nice.
Be able to solve that problem. So, Clifford, your account is now ready, configured to rock and roll. We can come back. We can dial up that particular filter that you were just discussing with Bill if you want. We can keep it here just for the go live, and we can adjust accordingly. But I wanted to ask you, just for the sake of the fact that we're recording this, this is going to get played as live tomorrow, but we could send out some offers on. I got a couple ones that have finished loading while the other ones are kind of in the buffering process. We could look at them real quick, and you can just tell me if you want to send out a manual offer on some of these together. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Let's send them off.
Let's do it. So first one I got pulled up here is a place in Mesquite. We can look at some of the pictures real quick. This is probably just going to be a yes or no, right? It seems okay. Looks like it's got some nicer finishes, some rehab. I would say yes. Yeah,
for sure.
All right.
I see that, and I think amazing rental opportunity for somebody.
I'm gonna go ahead and fire that one out. And then next one, here's one in Lakeside. Not sure what's up with the fence. Bathroom needs love. Seems like another yes, maybe another rental.
Yeah.
All right. Send that one out next. What was that? Paintbrush. Boom. And then last one here. This one. Definitely yes.
Yeah.
Not in terrible shape though. Beautiful. So those are out the door. So if you get any calls,
there we go. So it's official, y'all. The first campaign launched. First offers made.
First offers. There they are. They're in the inbox. So you are officially live, my friend.
Nice.
We'll be in touch over the next couple of days as things kind of play out. Is there anything else that we should do?
No, I think that we'll keep everything how it is and see how it goes over the next week or two, and then figure out, okay, can we ramp it up or dial it back, or where we need to do, and pivot and adjust and best practices and scale it and grow it from there, and just add this into the bag for 2025.
In the bag.
Yeah, I just want to say it really does start to get even more exciting, as your pipeline matures, right? And even as just your basic CRM system, matures for whatever you guys are using out there, once you have more leads to interact with, there's a lot more possibilities, right? So that offer that just went out today, maybe it doesn't work out, right? There's a good chance it won't work out for whatever reason. It might still be up on the market in 90 days time from now. And I know we didn't spend a tremendous amount of time going over all the the system triggers and automations, and maybe that's something we can cover, in some future videos, because that's honestly where a lot of the value is packed in its own right. What happens after we start sending these offers out. But it's really cool to just see the thing evolve, and it's, the AI doing its thing, pulling some of these leads back in. It's the relationships like we just spoke about, right? These agents are starting to see you send your first offer. Cool. All right. Well, then another offer came out the next week. And then it's like, all right, 4 weeks in a row, I've gotten an offer from Clifford's team on different properties. Yeah. Guess where these guys aren't going? They're not going anywhere, right? So now they're burned into your brain. And, of course, as long as we're doing the right thing on the phone and, presenting ourselves in a professional way, you're going to get plenty of people that are, the haters, right, of what's going on. But once they realize that you're not going anywhere and they see that you're handling yourself professionally and you're being honest, right? We got plenty of people who are like, so what? You're just sending out hundreds of offers and just, kind of hoping some of them work. It's like, yeah, we are. Yes, that is what we're doing. Here's our proof of funds. We're doing it as professionally as we can, right? We're very clean about our communications. If you don't like it, I completely understand. If you have another property that maybe it does work for, we'd be happy to consider that too. This can be a two-way street, right? And making sure this isn't just hey, I'm going to pepper you with offers and we want value and we're just, value hungry on our side. Like the value needs to go both ways, as always. It's exciting. It's exciting to see the thing grow. We see different things happening within this system as some of our features are evolving. So it's been fun.
Nice. No, I'm definitely excited, guys. I'm telling you, I'm head over heels excited to be on the platform and using it and optimize it in. Again, a whole new marketing strategy for me. I think it's interesting that there's still so much to learn, even five years in. Like once you think you know something, there's like a whole nother ball game of techniques and strategies and things that you can do to really amp up your business. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too, man. So keep us posted. We'll be in touch the next couple days. You got to let us know how some of the responses go. What we're going to look for on our end is just that you're getting replies. We want to make sure that people are responding back via email. You're going to get some calls. You're going to get some texts. That's going to happen too. So just keep us posted. And next 2 weeks will just kind of be the training wheels time. And then after that, it's go.
I love it. I love it. Well, all righty, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being generous with your time and walking me through this. Y'all, if you want to jump on board on this platform, I'll have their contact information to book a demo with them in the description. Book a demo. I highly, highly recommend y'all utilizing platforms like this. This is the time and season to be in real estate investing. Like it is. When you have platforms like this that can truly systematize, automate what you're doing and helping you hit and achieve your real estate investing goals, like, come on, let's go. There's no excuses. But no, I appreciate y'all.
Yeehaw, man.
Yeehaw. That was country. I love it, man. I love it. All right, fellas. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.